Hi there. So let me ask you this. What if we were to eat today with our futures in mind? What if we thought about the ingredients that we consume today, about what they did for us and to us, and where they came from? I think technology is going to get us there. Let me paint this picture for you, a juxtaposition of then and now. I grew up in a small town called Golden, BC, near the BC-Alberta border at the foot of the Canadian Rockies. Summers were hot and dry, and winters were cold and snowy. My parents moved up to Golden as hippies in the early 70s. My dad wanted to live off the land. Money was scarce, and we had goats and chickens, a cow and rabbits. And we had a huge garden, and we grew vegetables all summer long, some fruits, berries, things like that. And we canned and preserved for the winter months to get us through. Our neighbor had a dairy cow, and we traded farm fresh eggs for milk on a daily basis. I didn't appreciate it at the time. As a kid, it just felt like work. My daily chores consisted of picking weeds around the property. We lived on about 33 acres, dandelions and chickweed by the bucketfuls to feed all the animals that we had. We certainly weren't buying grain when Mother Nature was providing all the food that was necessary in the form of weeds all over our property. And the labor was free, as my parents always reminded me. I also did firewood. And doing firewood meant that throughout the summer, into the forest to pull out the deadfall and stack it in strategic piles around the property. And then in the winter, my dad, on his snowshoes, dragging a toboggan, would pull the logs closer to the house. And it was my responsibility to split the wood and keep the fire going so that we could keep the house warm and do the cooking. I was born in '76, and we didn't get power until 1982. And in 1989, my parents split up, and my sister and I moved with our mother to a new house, and we had hot running water for the first time. We heated all of our water on a wood stove from the early 1900s for anything that we needed water for bathing, for doing the dishes, for making coffee. I'm telling you this because I realize now that what I was exposed to as a kid were some amazing building blocks in my health foundation. The property where my father still lives had 7 creeks running through it. Still does. And we used a gravity-fed water system for all of our water needs. We drank on a daily basis. We drank mountain water, mineral dense, full of calcium and fluoride, which allowed us, my sister and I, to build strong bones and great teeth. In fact, it took me until just before my 29th birthday to break my first bone, and I had to get hit by a car to do it. And believe me when I tell you that I deserved to break many bones long before that, whether it was riding my bike or jumping off cliffs on my skis and eventually riding motorbikes and driving cars like an idiot, like you do when you're young. I definitely deserved to break a bone before that. So what of it? Food is intimate. For a lot of us, it can be our enemy. For others of us, it is purely fuel and has no necessary enjoyment attached. Lots of us are foodies and just love eating. And with lives busier than ever, finding creative, convenient solutions to healthy eating is more challenging than ever. But what if there was a way to enjoy food in such a way that it was as flavorful and special as it was fuel? As satisfying as an indulgent dinner, yet as functional as is required to perform your best on a daily basis, both body and mind. I would guess that the majority of us in this audience today are here for the long haul, to do as many amazing things as life brings our way, to check mark as many of those things on our bucket list as possible, to spend time with friends and family, to do cool shit, to be superhuman. There's an old adage that says, "Let food be thy medicine." And I think that can resonate with us, with all of us. But what if we thought about food as our preventative maintenance program? What if we chose ingredients specifically for our own personal bodies that did things for us with the long term in mind? And what if we were disciplined enough to eliminate the things that reacted poorly to our bodies? To wipe them out altogether, to never consume them again? Don't get me wrong. I believe in the 80-20 rule. I believe in a nice balance between discipline and enjoyment. I enjoy a glass or a pint, or sometimes both once in a while. And as a professional chef for over 20 years, even though I've always been able to read the label on any box, bag, bottle, or container, I didn't always think about what I was eating and where it came from. As a professional chef for the majority of my career, I thought about more about creating food that tasted good than what it did for you. Think about that. My profession is to provide food for people, and all I thought about was flavor. The knowledge that people have now versus 5 or 10 years ago about food, what it does for them and to them, and where it comes from has come a long way, and it's got a long way to go. I encourage you to read every label, to understand how your farmers farm, how they treat their animals, their vegetables, and their fruits, where that water comes from. Think about how you perform after you eat a heavy lunch. What happens to you in the afternoon? Or what happens when you eat clean and light? How your brain functions when you eat healthy fats? And what happens when you eliminate sugar? After all, we are what we eat. And if we collectively started to eat now, combined with our futures in mind, what a future it would be. Thank you.